High above Earth, in a place where no human had ever stepped and no human could even imagine, Aelith watched. From her silent perch in a massive, orbiting structure, she observed every corner of the planet below. Cities glimmered at night like fields of tiny stars, and deserts stretched like golden oceans. Rivers sparkled in sunlight and oceans roared with restless energy. Humans, the creatures she had been studying for centuries, moved across the planet with a chaos that should have been predictable. But somehow, it was not. Aelith's species had watched countless civilizations over thousands of years. They had observed planets where life flourished, planets where it faltered, and planets where it ended before it could even begin. Aelith had been trained in the art of patience and calculation, taught to understand the patterns of emerging species, and trained to know which would survive and which would crumble. Humanity, by all calculations, was fragile, emotional, short-lived, violent, self-destructive, predictable. Yet every time she observed humans, they surprised her. She had seen wars that should have ended them, diseases that should have wiped them out, natural disasters that should have left the planet empty. But humans endured. They rebuilt. They adapted. They refused to surrender. Something in their persistence fascinated her, even as she reminded herself that they were beneath her concern. She floated silently in the observation chamber, her translucent limbs reflecting the faint light of distant stars. Around her, holographic displays hummed with data streams. Population growth, technology advancements, political conflicts, climate trends, space exploration trajectories. Every detail of human life, every innovation, every small act of kindness or cruelty was recorded and analyzed. "This species," she whispered to no one, "is interesting." It was tiny, almost invisible against the infinite blackness of the dimension surrounding her structure, but Aelith's senses were precise. At first, she assumed it was a glitch. Her equipment was ancient and highly sensitive, capable of tracking planets light years away, but this was no glitch. The signal was moving, calculated, intelligent, and it was heading straight for her. Her first reaction was irritation. No human had ever approached this region before. They were bound to their small planet, bound to their fragile technology, and bound to their expectations of the universe. And yet, here was one, navigating through layers of dimensions no human should even know existed. Aelith's curiosity flickered. She had expected humanity to remain contained in their predictable orbit for centuries more, maybe millennia. But this human was breaking the rules, stepping into the forbidden. The anomaly entered the observation chamber with a sudden flash of light. Aelith watched as a human figure appeared, staggering but alive, his eyes wide with shock. He was small, frail-looking in comparison to her, and yet he radiated a kind of defiance that was unlike anything she had seen from humans before. Ethan Hale. That was the name she would soon learn. He blinked at the vastness of the chamber, at the glowing screens, at the immense machinery that hovered silently around him. His human mind tried to understand the impossible, but it could not. Yet he did not scream. He did not panic. Instead, he straightened his back, squared his shoulders, and took a careful step forward. Aelith studied him, analyzing his movements, his breathing, the subtle tension in his muscles. No human had ever moved through her dimension without succumbing to fear, disorientation, or collapse. But this one, he adapted. He adjusted. He survived. "You shouldn't be here," she said, her voice echoing softly through the chamber. It was a sound humans might have called musical, though it carried no tone of kindness or malice. It was pure observation. I didn't mean to be," Ethan said, his voice steady despite his eyes betraying astonishment. "My ship, I think something went wrong. I don't even know where I am. No one survives here without intervention, yet you are alive. Why?" She had observed survival instincts, but this human's defiance was different. It was almost admirable. "You are unusual," she said. The words felt strange to her even as she spoke them. She had never complimented a human before. She had never needed to. Observation was neutral. Observation was objective. But Ethan Hale had changed something. "I'm just me," he said, shrugging slightly as if that explained everything. Aelith floated closer, circling him slowly. "You are the first human I have ever encountered in this space. You have broken all expectations. You are remarkable." "That's humans, I suppose." "You are curious," she said finally, the observation transforming into a rare emotion interest. "You are unafraid, you adapt, you survive, and yet you are insignificant." Humans were supposed to be chaotic, fragile, self-destructive. Yet Ethan alone had achieved what no one had thought possible. She could feel a flicker of something new, a question, a spark. Was it possible that humans could exceed her predictions, that one human could change the course of observation itself? "I am studying humanity," she said, almost unconsciously. "I record your actions, your choices, your failures. You are part of a pattern, nothing more." Perhaps for the first time she was witnessing something unpredictable. "You are a variable," she said finally, almost to herself. "A human variable." She had never experienced it before. Observation was clear, prediction was clear, control was clear. But now she was faced with something she could not fully predict. The human looked at her with calm determination, unaware of the power she held, unaware of the centuries of planning and observation that had brought her to this moment. And in that gaze she felt something unfamiliar, a connection, a possibility, a challenge. "Perhaps," she whispered, "this species is more than I realized." Ethan, standing before her, did not know the magnitude of what he had achieved simply by surviving. But Aelith knew. For the first time, a human had entered her space, and nothing would ever be the same. She had been watching humanity, making plans, shaping predictions, until now. Now humanity was watching her. Ethan took a careful step forward, still taking in the vastness of the chamber. He had never seen anything like this. The walls were lined with machines that seemed alive, glowing softly with a light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Floating holograms of planets, stars, and strange alien symbols hovered in the air, shifting constantly. Screens displayed streams of data he could barely comprehend. Every motion, every display, felt both overwhelming and mesmerizing. Aelith floated silently above him, her translucent form shimmering in the light. She studied him closely, noting every movement, every hesitation, every reaction. She had seen thousands of humans on Earth, yet this one was different. He did not panic. He did not beg, he simply observed. "You are still standing," she said, her voice calm but carrying a weight that made Ethan's pulse quicken. "I expected you to falter, to collapse under the pressure of this space." Most failed, most panicked, most gave up, yet Ethan had done neither. "You are unusually resilient," she said. "Your mind adapts where others would fail. That is noteworthy." "So I just keep moving. I think I just want to understand. I don't want to die because I didn't try to figure things out." "You speak of understanding," she said, "yet you do not know the forces you are dealing with. You do not understand the nature of this space or the rules of dimensions beyond your own. You are lucky to be alive. You have to try." "Then tell me," she said, lowering herself closer to him. "What is it about your species that makes you survive against all odds? And sometimes we do the impossible. A human variable that defies expectation. Perhaps I have miscalculated. That's why we survive. You are thinking, you are reasoning." She had cataloged thousands of human deaths in her time, all predictable outcomes. Yet here was one who had defied every expectation. "You are remarkable," she said, almost involuntarily. "I have never seen a human like you." "That is dangerous." Yet Ethan's confidence was not arrogant. It was measured, grounded in the kind of determination that could change outcomes. "You are asking for trust," she said, her voice soft, almost melodic. "And I do not trust easily. I have observed humanity for centuries, and I know its flaws, its weaknesses, its unpredictability. So maybe there's something worth seeing in a human, even one alone in a place like this." "You will explore this place," she said finally. "But be careful, many humans would not survive. You are fortunate in ways you cannot understand." He touched the surfaces, examined the glowing panels, traced his fingers through the holograms. Unlike other humans, he seemed to absorb the space, to understand it not through logic alone, but through intuition, curiosity, and wonder. "You are learning," she said, "faster than I expected. Every detail, every pattern, every possibility, even if I don't understand it at first. No human has ever done that before. Who had faced the unknown without surrendering, who had challenged her expectations simply by existing. "You are extraordinary," she said. "I just keep moving forward," Ethan replied. "That's all I do, it's what humans do. Perhaps you are the beginning of something different." And in that moment, she realized something profound. Humanity, with all its flaws, all its chaos, all its unpredictability, might not only survive, it might thrive in ways even she could not foresee. And Ethan Hale, the human who should never have been here, was the spark that had ignited a change she had never expected. She had been watching humanity for centuries. She had made plans, calculations, predictions. But now one human had walked into her space, and nothing would ever be the same. Ethan had been exploring the chamber for hours, and still, every step revealed something new. Machines larger than skyscrapers hovered silently, their surfaces etched with alien symbols that pulsed with a strange energy. Holographic projections of entire star systems spun slowly in the air, displaying the intricate dance of planets, moons, and asteroids. It was overwhelming, but Ethan's human curiosity thrived in the unknown. He moved carefully, touching surfaces lightly, examining the strange technologies and recording everything in his mind. Aelith floated above him, her long, translucent body barely making a ripple in the glowing light. She observed him with fascination. Most humans would have collapsed under the sheer scale of her space, overwhelmed by the impossibility of surviving here. Yet Ethan was calm. He adapted. He persisted. "You move with confidence," she said, her voice echoing softly around the chamber. "I did not expect this. I expected fear. I expected panic." These were traits humans possessed, but they were usually clouded by emotion, irrationality, and self-doubt. Yet Ethan demonstrated them all perfectly. "You are remarkable," she said, almost involuntarily. "I have observed humanity for centuries. I have predicted, calculated, and measured every possible outcome, and yet you defy every expectation. Maybe that's just what humans do. We're unpredictable. We make mistakes, yes, but sometimes those mistakes lead to something good. Sometimes they save us." "You speak of survival as though it is simple," she said. "For most of your species it is not. Most humans perish in situations far less complex than this. And yet, you are alive. I have made plans for humanity. Containment, guidance, control. I assumed you would remain predictable, weak, manageable, yet you demonstrate qualities I had not anticipated. I have cataloged your wars, your inventions, your triumphs, and your failures. I have watched you grow, decline, and rebuild. You were supposed to be predictable, controlled, easily managed if intervention were necessary, but you may not be manageable at all. Maybe we're meant to learn, adapt, and survive. You adapt to my space, to my presence, to the impossible. You are exceptional." She felt something new stirring, a fascination that went beyond observation. "Tell me," she said, her voice soft, "what drives you, what makes you persist when most would surrender?" "We fight for each other, for ideas, for things we can't even see clearly. Sometimes it's hope, sometimes it's stubbornness. But it's always there. It's part of who we are." He was embodying the very essence of humanity, resilience, ingenuity, and courage against overwhelming odds. "You speak as though your species is remarkable," she said. "And yet you are one among billions. Why should one human matter so much?" And that's how humanity moves forward. Step by step, person by person, choice by choice. That's what matters. It was strength. "You are extraordinary," she said again. "Not merely for surviving here, but for embodying qualities I have never fully appreciated. You may have changed my understanding of humanity itself." Maybe it's not just me. Maybe it's all humans. We find ways to keep going, even when everything says we shouldn't. You're seeing it now. We surprise even ourselves sometimes. That's what makes us humans. Yet here was one human who had defied expectation, survived the impossible, and forced her to reconsider everything she had believed. "You are unique among your kind," she said finally. "And yet, perhaps you are not alone. Perhaps your species has more like you. We learn, we adapt, we survive. That's how humans move forward. That's how we make progress, step by step, challenge by challenge." He had persisted where others would have surrendered. He had challenged her understanding of what it meant to be human. "You may have changed the way I think," she said quietly. "No human has ever done that before. You have impacted my perspective. And sometimes we make a difference, even when the odds are against us. Not merely for surviving here, but for embodying qualities I have never fully appreciated. You may have changed my understanding of humanity itself." And in that moment, she realized something profound. Humanity, with all its flaws, all its chaos, all its unpredictability, might not only survive, it might thrive in ways even she could not foresee. And Ethan Hale, the human who should never have been here, was the spark that had ignited a change she had never expected. She had been watching humanity for centuries. She had made plans, calculations, predictions. But now one human had walked into her space, and nothing would ever be the same. The calm of the chamber shattered without warning. Aelith's sensors picked up an approaching energy signature, one far larger and more ancient than any she had ever encountered. She floated toward the nearest observation console, her translucent body shimmering with tension. The readings were overwhelming. An advanced civilization was moving into humanity's sector, and their trajectory was not one of observation. It was destruction. Ethan, still exploring, noticed her sudden change in demeanor. "What is it?" he asked, voice tight with concern. "This," Aelith replied, "is a threat unlike any humans have faced before. A civilization far older and far more powerful than yours has decided that humanity is a danger. They intend to erase your planet before you become capable of challenging them." The planet he had lived on, the people he loved, all in danger. He clenched his fists. Why would anyone do that? They prefer to eliminate threats before they can grow. You would be annihilated within hours. "We have to do something," he said, determination rising in his voice. "We can't just wait and die. We have to fight, or at least try. My kind does not interfere directly in the affairs of younger civilizations." She had been planning humanity's future for centuries, carefully calculating outcomes, predicting failures, and preparing contingencies. Intervention was forbidden, risky, and unpredictable, and yet Ethan's words resonated. She had never seen a human appeal so directly, so calmly, so logically. "You are asking me to risk everything," she said quietly. "My life, my purpose, everything I have studied and built, to intervene directly for humans. Maybe we can change what's coming. I will intervene, not because I desire to save humanity, but because I wish to see if they are truly capable of meeting this challenge. You have convinced me to act, not through argument, but through the demonstration of your species' potential. Then let's get to work." The fleet approaching Earth was vast, advanced, and lethal, ancient warships powered by energy sources humans could not yet comprehend. Their weapons were devastating, capable of obliterating entire continents. "We can't match them head-on," Aelith explained. "Their technology is far beyond yours, but there are ways to survive and ways to fight back. You must use strategy, deception, and speed. You must be unpredictable." He spoke with clarity and confidence, not arrogance. He did not pretend humans could win through force alone, but he believed in ingenuity, creativity, and persistence. She had never encountered a human like this before, one who combined caution with courage, intelligence with adaptability. "We will need allies," she said finally, "not just humans. Other civilizations in your sector may aid you if approached correctly. Their alliances will be unpredictable, but they may provide the support you need." She had expected fear, hesitation, or denial. Instead, she found determination, clarity, and a willingness to act. This human embodied the very essence of what she had begun to understand about humanity: resilience, creativity, and relentless persistence. "You have convinced me," she said. "We will act together. I will guide you. I will show you strategies and technologies. But the outcome depends on your species' ability to adapt, to think, and to fight as I have never seen before." She instructed him on defensive measures, tactical maneuvers, and methods of communication humans had never used before. Ethan absorbed everything, mentally piecing together a plan that could give Earth a chance to survive. "You must understand," Aelith said, her voice serious. "The enemy will adapt quickly. They will anticipate conventional strategies. You must be unpredictable, creative, and relentless. One mistake could mean the end of your species." Ethan's determination was remarkable, but it was more than that. It was a reflection of humanity itself, the unyielding spirit that refused to submit, even when faced with overwhelming odds. "You may change the course of this confrontation," she said quietly. "If your species acts with the ingenuity and courage you display, you may survive, but the path will be perilous. The enemy will not show mercy." Yet here was one human, standing before her, embodying the very qualities she had begun to admire. And now, facing an ancient, powerful enemy, she would act, not as an observer, but as an ally. Together, they began to formulate a plan. Aelith provided knowledge far beyond human understanding: energy manipulation, fleet coordination, predictive simulations of enemy movements. Ethan provided adaptability, creativity, and the human perspective that Aelith had begun to value. "We must move quickly," Aelith said. "The enemy fleet is approaching at speeds you cannot yet comprehend. Their attack will begin sooner than you expect. And we'll protect Earth." As the enemy fleet drew nearer, Aelith and Ethan worked tirelessly. Hours passed like minutes as they plotted strategies, adjusted simulations, and coordinated potential alliances. Every detail mattered. Every calculation could mean the difference between survival and annihilation. Finally, they paused, taking a brief moment to assess their progress. The plan was imperfect, but it was the best chance humanity had, and for the first time, Aelith felt something she had never experienced before: anticipation. "Are you ready?" she asked Ethan. He nodded, eyes determined. "We have no choice. We either fight or we are gone. Humans fight." For the first time, she would not merely watch. She would act, and humanity's fate would be tested in ways they could not yet imagine. Together, they turned their attention to the approaching threat, ready to face the ancient enemy and change the course of history. The enemy fleet was closer than anyone could have imagined. Dark shapes of enormous ships blocked the distant stars, moving with precision and speed that defied human comprehension. The planet below trembled as energy readings spiked, warning of the immense destructive power contained within each vessel. Millions of lives were at stake. Humanity's future teetered on the edge of extinction, and yet Ethan Hale refused to panic. Beside him, Aelith hovered silently, her translucent form glowing faintly with energy. For centuries, she had watched species rise and fall, had seen planets destroyed before their people could even understand the danger. She had always remained apart, observing, calculating, judging. But now, she was not a watcher. She was an ally, and the responsibility pressed heavily on her. "You are ready," she said quietly, turning her gaze toward him. "Your species will need every advantage, every ounce of ingenuity. This enemy will not hesitate, and they will adapt faster than you expect. You must be smarter, faster, and more unpredictable. We find a way no matter what. That's what humans do." Aelith guided him, pointing out vulnerabilities humans could exploit, predicting strategies that the ancient fleet might employ. "We need to create a distraction," she explained. "Their forces are enormous. If you attack directly, your ships will be destroyed before they even engage. But if we force them to divide their attention, to chase unpredictable targets, you may survive long enough to strike at critical points." Chaos, confusion, unpredictability. Ethan coordinated with fleet commanders across Earth and nearby colonies, giving them instructions on maneuvering, tactical deployment, and energy shielding. Humans worked tirelessly, moving with a determination and unity Aelith had never seen in any species. The first clash was terrifying. Enemy ships unleashed waves of energy that incinerated anything in their path. Entire squads of human vessels vanished in seconds, yet humanity adapted. They moved unpredictably, dodging energy blasts, luring enemy ships into traps, and striking at the most vulnerable points. Even with their inferior technology, their creativity allowed them to survive. Ethan directed from the command deck, moving between stations with rapid efficiency. "Keep the left flank tight," he shouted. "Use the asteroid field to your advantage. Don't let them anticipate your path." And that was what made them so dangerous, so alive, so remarkable. One squadron of enemy ships approached the human capital, their energy weapons charging. Aelith projected a series of holographic decoys, creating illusions of fleet movements that confused the enemy sensors. Human ships darted in and out of cover, striking with precision at weak points Aelith identified. In moments that felt like hours, several enemy ships were disabled. Ethan watched the projections, calling out adjustments. "The right wing is exposed. Divert fire. Target the energy core of the second ship." Every command, every action demonstrated the qualities Aelith had come to admire: ingenuity, courage, and relentless determination. Hours passed in a blur of energy blasts, strategic maneuvers, and near misses. The enemy fleet was vast, but humanity's creativity and refusal to surrender slowly shifted the balance. Ships that should have been destroyed survived through clever tactics. Weak points previously unseen were exploited with devastating effect. For the first time, the ancient fleet hesitated, its coordination disrupted by unpredictable human actions. Aelith's energy surged, supporting the humans directly. She altered gravitational flows, redirected energy bursts, and amplified shield systems, but she did not fight for them. Humans struck and survived through their own actions, guided only by the wisdom she provided. She observed, intervened only where necessary, and allowed humanity's ingenuity to shine. Ethan, moving between the command stations, felt the tide turning. "They're adapting," he said. "Good. That means our plan is working. Keep the pressure. Hit every weak point you see. Don't give them a chance to recover." She had seen countless civilizations destroyed in moments, entire species wiped from existence before they could even understand the danger. Yet humanity, fragile, unpredictable, emotional, survived. They endured. They triumphed. Ethan's heart pounded as he directed the final stages of the plan. The enemy's Central Command ship loomed, the largest vessel, their most powerful weapon. Humanity's ships had weakened the outer lines, disrupted energy flows, and created openings that had never existed before. Now was the moment to strike. "Focus everything we have," Ethan shouted. "All energy, all firepower, all tactics. Hit the core simultaneously." Human ships moved as one, converging on the command vessel. Energy shields flared, weapons fired, and the massive ship shuddered under the unexpected assault. It was designed to withstand centuries of conflict, yet humanity's unpredictable strikes tore through its defenses. The ship exploded in a blinding flash, its destruction sending shockwaves through the enemy formation. Confusion and panic spread across the fleet. Without their command, their coordination faltered. Human ships exploited every opening, striking with precision and adaptability. Within hours, the ancient fleet was in full retreat. Silence followed the chaos, broken only by the soft hum of surviving human ships and the faint glow of Aelith's energy. Humanity had survived. Against impossible odds, against a force far older and more powerful, they had endured. They had fought, adapted, and prevailed. Ethan sank into his chair, exhaustion and relief washing over him. "We did it," he said quietly. "We survived. You overcame. You demonstrated qualities I had underestimated, qualities I had failed to fully understand. Humanity is remarkable." For centuries, she had been the watcher, the observer, the planner. She had made predictions, calculated outcomes, and judged civilizations. But humanity, through one human, through many, through their courage, ingenuity, and persistence, had rewritten the rules. They had shown her what it meant to fight without guarantee, to act without certainty, and to triumph against impossible odds. "You have changed my understanding of your species," she said softly. "I will no longer observe from afar. I will stand with you not as a ruler, not as a manipulator, but as an ally. Together, perhaps we can ensure that humanity continues to endure and thrive. And maybe now, we can surprise the universe in ways no one expected." But humans, resilient and unpredictable, would continue to rise, learn, and adapt. Ethan stood, gazing out at Earth below, the planet scarred but alive, its cities still glowing, its people still living. Humanity had endured, and now, with Aelith as an ally, they would face the challenges of the cosmos with newfound strength and understanding. For the first time in centuries, Aelith felt something profound: hope, not just for humanity, but for the potential that existed when intelligence, determination, and courage joined forces. Humanity had survived against all odds. They had proven themselves worthy. And as the stars above shimmered with the remnants of the fleeing enemy, Ethan and Aelith knew one truth: humanity was no longer a species to be watched from afar. They were a species to be reckoned with, a species that could endure, inspire, and change the universe itself. Together, they faced the future. Together, they had survived. And together, they would ensure that humanity's light would never be extinguished.